Hey ladies, okay, really quick, I want to first introduce myself, give you a quick background on me, and then talk about this group a little bit more. So my name is Helen Morrison. Those of you who are newer to my coaching groups, or maybe someone else invited you here, but I have basically been into health and wellness my entire life. My mom is a naturopath. We were born at home. Did all things natural, went to the chiropractor instead of like a general family doctor and pediatrician. So this has just been my whole world. And I've professionally been in health and wellness for 12 years at the point of this video. I teach yoga, I've taught cycle, bar, I've been coaching online nutrition and fitness for about 5 years. So this group is all about syncing our hormonal female cycles with our nutrition and fitness and lots of other things thrown in. But I decided I wanted to do this group because the further I researched into women's health and wellness, the more that I came to find that so many women, like an overwhelming majority of women, have some kind of hormonal issues. Some are just mild things like PMS, cramps, mood swings around your period, acne, things like that, bloating when it's that time of the month. And then many women also have more serious issues like endometriosis, fibroids and cysts, and PCOS. Many women end up getting hysterectomies later on in life. There's just a whole host of female issues. And majority of women at some point or another in their lifetime are also on birth control. So let's just talk really quick about how women's hormones have been kind of dealt with over the years. For the most part, our society culturally has always been like a patriarchy, basically a male-dominated culture, a system and way of living that really follows the male hormone cycle, which is a 24-hour clock. Now, we women have a 24-hour clock as well. There are things we need in 24 hours like food and sleep, and we have hormones that shift and change in the 24-hour cycle like cortisol, melatonin, things like that. So there are hormonal things that are happening in our body on a 24-hour clock, but there is also the cyclical, 28-day average, so like monthly cycle as well. So kind of like the Earth and the Moon, it's like you have the 24-hour rotation, but then you also have the 30-day cycle of like with the moon, and then the rotation around the sun that takes a year. There's so much more going on in a woman's body. And oddly enough, when you look at medical studies, or really any kind of studies on nutrition, fitness, different diet plans, different fitness programs, supplements, things like that, most studies that are done, the test group is almost always men. And the reason this is the case is because a male's hormonal cycle contains less variables. So, when you do a scientific study, the more variables you have, the harder it is to get a concrete evidence or concrete result. So in a woman's body, you have so many variables because week 1 of your cycle, you have certain hormones. Week 2, those hormones are different. Week 3, they're different. Week 4, they're different. So a woman's body is always kind of all over the place. And so if you're going to use women as test case participants, you need to be making that study so much longer, because a 4-week study for men is 4 weeks of evidence. A 4-week study for women is really 1 week of evidence, another week of evidence, another week, and another week. They're not the same. And so in order to do a female study, you would have to take that same 4-week period you do with the men and take it over more like 12 months, because you need over 4 months. Sorry, you take it over 4 months because you need 4-week 1 windows, 4-week 2 windows, 4-week 3 windows, and 4-week 4 windows. And then you'd have to look at it and say, well, how does this affect them during week 1? And maybe it doesn't affect them during week 3. And, so there's just so many variables with women. So they have just chosen to most of the time use men as the test case, test subject participants. And so a lot of times the information we get on nutrition, fitness, different dietary things like intermittent fasting, keto, all these things, the majority of studies are done on men. Take that also to medicine. Most of the time, they're just looking at how does this particular medicine affect the body in men? And because we women have so many different hormones and things like that, it's going to affect us so much differently. So I think doctors are well-meaning, and when we come to them and we have acne as a teenager, or we have really heavy bleeding, doctors look and say, what medicine is going to fix this problem right now the fastest? And drugs, medicine, birth control, things like that, is made to correct the problem instantly. It's not made to heal the body. It's not made to balance the body. It is a quick fix, and it works. And so doctors use medicine. They give it to their people, and it seems like it fixes the problem. And I think that, sometimes we view birth control as like, oh, well, this works. This fixed my problem. But the truth is that anytime you take any pharmaceutical drug, it will fix in the here and now. But there will be a consequence later on at some point if you don't balance the body. These different hormones, I guess you can call them symptoms, these symptoms of hormonal imbalance that we see, they are not the problem. They are the evidence that there is a problem. And so if you just take medicine to fix the evidence that there's a problem, the evidence that there's a problem goes away, but the problem doesn't go away. And so you just take that birth control for years and years and years and years, and later on down the line, then the actual problem, it's just been growing and growing and growing, and then you have a big issue, and most of the time end up like with a hysterectomy or something like that. Or even if you don't end up with a hysterectomy, you end up like going through menopause, and menopause is known to be horrific for most women because really we live our whole lives without truly balancing our bodies and giving our bodies what they need. And the reason we do this, I would say it's not your fault. It's not, it's mostly because there's not information. And many of you in your introductory videos, like telling about yourself, mentioned that, I don't usually talk about periods with strangers, or I don't really talk about periods at all, or I don't really talk about sex with anyone at all. I don't talk about, my hormone issues at all. I would say that for the most of us, I would say we're lucky if someone when we were younger, outside of just like sex ed class at school, taught us about our period, and taught us about just our period. And basically if someone did teach you about your period, it's like, okay, well, you're getting your period now, so once a month you're gonna bleed, you'll probably have cramps. It's kind of like periods are just this miserable thing, like, oh, your period's here now you're a woman, welcome to the club, you're gonna have to deal with all these womanly problems. And so really our female hormones, for the most part, all we know is that they're a hassle. And the truth is that if we can unlock the keys to having balanced and a strong hormonal balance throughout our cycle, we would really be unlocking the keys to greater energy, better sex drive, more comfortable periods, better fertility. Really all things woman involved would be functioning at a more optimal level, and we would be feeling our best. Here come my kids. I think they're gonna have an issue. We might have to cut this video short. But all that I wanna say is basically that, come sit with me. When it comes to our bodies, we have got to start having these conversations. We've got to start talking about it, and it shouldn't be something that's considered dirty or gross, or because how does that make you feel as a woman? Like you're dirty, you're gross, you're not enough, there's shame on you, and that is really how most women live their life, with shame. And I want this group to be a place where we can let go of that shame, be open and honest, and have these conversations about things we all experience. Because if we're not having these conversations, we're never going to learn, it's never going to get better, and women are just going to continue on and on having more hormone issues, fertility problems, lack of energy, and just overall, not feeling good. So anyway, I just want to make this as an intro, and we'll continue this conversation as, hey guys, stop. We'll continue this conversation as the group goes on. So I look forward to sharing more, and anytime you need anything, you have questions, please reach out.